Welcome everyone to Pro NoCoders Office Hours, episode number 189. We're getting so close to that number 200, y'all. It's happening January 7th, 2022. Eli, Pablo, myself, Juan, and Cameron, all of your Pro NoCoders are going to be here to celebrate the 200th episode, and we're looking forward to seeing you. If you would like to join us, you have to be a member though. So go sign up at pronocoders.com and do so before the 1st because our price is going up. If you sign up now, you can lock in 6 sessions per week with Pro NoCoders Office Hours for just $99. But after the 1st of the year, that goes up to $119 per month. So please go sign up now. We're here with members Thomas, Ben, Matt, and Jose and Boye, and we're going to get started. So I think Matt and Jose, you had questions to start.
All right, straight in. Jose, are you do you have the car open? Basically, the problem is, can I share my screen?
Yeah, of course. You could just kick me off.
Yeah, we have two issues, Matt. I think let's show first the image, the stretching image thing. I think would be easier to understand.
Yeah, okay.
So it's mainly like a technical thing that we've been stuck on with.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So whilst I try and do that, Jose, if you want to try and explain the problem.
Yeah, well, mainly in general terms, this app is for building specialized hardware for smart homes. It's, as Matt will show the engine that is mainly a builder for building different types of switches and things for building your smart home. And the customer is Simon, as you can see, which is the manufacturer. So we just built this engine to construct and to build the designs, and they end up in a cart, which ends up being a bill of materials, so the customer can enter their requests for fulfillment, right? So you can browse all the elements in the catalog here. And you can start building your different types of designs, including connectors, USBs, any type of product that they have, right? Our mainly problem is that what we want to address is, as you can see, this image here, this mechanism here. It's an image element on the editor, which is reading the image from the server where all the images are stored. But these images are different sizes, mainly are either like this, which are thin and long, or maybe Matt, you can show a full element instead in like these ones, right? So these are images that have different sizes. So sometimes we're trying to replicate it now, or I don't know, Matt, if you have like the screenshots.
Yeah, maybe I guess
browser. Sometimes these images are like stretched weirdly in the image element and are not displayed correctly. It's
kind of hard to. Let me see if I can.
Like we saw this with Eli last time, but let me see if I can replicate it here, because now
if you put it open.
Very different. It will be very hard to replicate.
Which is both good and bad. Hard to solve and difficult to replicate, but good that it's only happening every so often.
It's like when you go to the doctor and everything stops to ache.
Yep, or take the car to the mechanic for sure.
There you go.
All right. Okay, that does look weird. I don't know what I'm supposed to be seeing, but yeah, that looks strange.
What you should see is this.
Okay. So it's a long, it's a tall image.
Yeah.
being.
And sometimes we know why. Sometimes it displays it like this, and sometimes it doesn't. So it's very annoying because we do the tests and everything seems fine. Then the users start to test it and the customers, and then they have these issues. And we don't really understand the root cause, why it's performing like this sometimes, and sometimes it's could be an HTML thing, like a script is. It's kind of hard to understand.
I mean, it's so the pictures that you're uploading are going to have are going to be different sizes, right? Like you're not trying to be consistent with the sizes of the images that you're uploading, correct?
Yeah. So yeah, but the image element supposedly is correctly set with the correct setup, so it displays like this. The question is why is displaying like this here, and sometimes it's when reloads, when the process restarts, this happens. It's
Yep. Okay, so is that the exact same place that it's showing differently?
yeah.
Yeah. So for example, here, this is the same pop-up, and it's the same
Image element?
It's the same pop-up, but on a new browser session, or there's something new about this environment, and so it does it for the first time. So if I then refresh and do the exact same thing to go to here, it's now fixed. So it's like it's not 100% reliable, but pretty confident that it happens very at the beginning when you first either create a session, but that's up for debate. But if you refresh the page,
then it works.
It would then fix. So there's something that it was like it didn't quite get all the data it needed the first time. I don't know, basically, but
right.
that's fairly
I think, I mean, if on subsequent refreshes it's loading correctly and it's just that first one, I might actually report that to Bubble straight away as a first step. Because if it's working pretty consistently after that page refresh, I think you're doing it right. I think Bubble is doing it wrong. So
it's a fair point. All right. Do you want, well, shall I just leave? That was a precursor because I forgot about that problem. The other one that I raised with you before I said I wondered if you had any advice, was this part of the process, so what just happened then, we created a cart item, and here's a cart with all the items that would be in it. What happens when there are many items to be added? So there is like a process to build the products that you would put into the cart, because depending on what the user wants to place inside the light frame, it's very niche, this product, but I want 6 different plugs on the wall for my blinds, for my TV, etc. So the case might be there's this issue again. So
there's the image issue. Look,
it looks strange, but if you refresh it looks
really,
right.
Yeah. Well, what's weird is like if I go back and come forward, it's still there. And then
if you select another product,
if I go to say this, that is correct.
But select another half element.
But then another.
And now it's correct.
Now, it kind of corrects itself, I think, when one is displayed correctly. Maybe.
You've submitted bug reports to Bubble before?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
I believe this was it. Can't remember.
Yeah, we have. I don't think we have reported this exact issue.
No. But you've been through the process of reporting a bug.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would do a Loom video and show them exactly what's happening so that they.
Yeah. All right. That's a good point.
That. Yeah.
Right. So, 1 item, 2 items. So I've got all these different items I want to add. I'm going to add this one, which it occupies 2, and then I'm going to put some blinds in, and then I'm going to put, not that one because I can't put that one in. Okay, so So what right now there's a lot of client side.
Each element that Matt added, each individual key, it's what we call a card product, which is a thing in the card products database, right? Which we create a new thing once the product is added to the card. Right now we haven't done any database updates. Everything it's stored in states, so that's why it was like a bit fast. So right now we haven't done anything on the database. When he clicks this, añadir estancia, add to the room, click it, Matt. Now we haven't done anything to the database yet. It's still reading the states we had for each product, right?
Yeah.
The moment he clicks the blue button, which is añadir add, it runs the workflows that create the new things, which are card products. So they are stored in the card.
Okay.
So click it. Now it's running the workflows. Now it's creating the actual things. And now it ran all the workflows to create all these lines you see here, which are individual card products, which are quite a bit of, in this case, which is a kind of a complex design. Right now it worked. Of course, we could not replicate it. But what happens sometimes is that this text, that these lines that you see, which are a text element, which is just doing a search for the card products to show their name and their SKU in a list, format as text in a list. Sometimes this search is performed before the workflows are finished, we think, and sometimes this list is not shown correctly or complete until you refresh the whole page. We took a look with this with Eli before we had actually a repeating group here instead of this, and it worked. It was very slow, so Eli helped us with the idea to, instead of having this nested repeating group, have this text element. Let me show you the editor so you can have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. So this is a text element here, which is this one. Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yep.
So this is the text, which is doing a search for the card products formatted as text, right? It's formatted, it's just doing a search. So we think that this search right here is being made, it's searching the things that are automatically created once we add the product. So that's why sometimes this list isn't complete until you refresh the page. So
okay. I saw sort of an initial list populate and then a couple things added on as they were created there, which is what I would expect. I think the better user experience might be to do a loading animation until all of the things exist in the database. Now, the way you would do that is you would know from your states the things that you're sending into the backend workflows. You would know how many things that you're expecting in that list. And then you could have you could set a state that changes once that many things are in that list, and then remove the loading animation and show the list. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like a counter that says like, tells you how advanced the process is when you're sending the products to the workflows. But is there a way to activate this search after the workflow is what?
Yeah, so that would stay the same. What I'm talking about is when you click that button to add everything and you send everything into the backend workflow, you would also set a state that would be saying like waiting or something like that. And then you would have a do when condition in the workflows that say when that state is true and the count of the list that you're looking at is a certain count, then you would switch that state to not waiting anymore and show the resulting list.
So this text element would have a condition to be empty until that condition. So because how can we trigger that this search to happen once that condition is
right?
met?
So you could put in your conditionals, you could have that element not be visible until there's another state that says done or complete. And then you set that state to incomplete until the numbers match up. So I can kind of show you what I think might work if you want. I can share my screen and kind of do it in a prototype.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, John. It's nice to meet you. I saw you popped in earlier. If you're still here. Nope, he popped back out. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna have a state on the page, just be a text state. So loading, it could be a yes or no, or however you want, or a text. So I have a repeating group. Or is that just one text element that you have there showing all of those different texts?
Yeah, it's a text element. We previously had a repeating group, but it was a nested repeating group. We also had this issue where the repeating group was
tricky.
Not displaying although the items were on the database, the repeating group was not pulling all the items until we refreshed. So the data source of the repeating group was do a search for the X items. And let's say in the database there were 10 items that should have been there, and the repeating group just showed 6.
Yeah. So, for example, in all cases, the database is correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's purely the front end not displaying all that data. That's what we're clear on. and you saw the list kind of take some time to populate, and somehow somewhere that sometimes doesn't complete, or it misses a product somehow.
Got it. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm following. So let me just refresh here. Come on, Bubble. I know it's been a long year. You can do it. Okay, so all loading items. Just delete these. So I'm going to make a button here. And on this button, I'm going to schedule a backend workflow to, not that. And we'll send in a number here. This isn't how yours will work, but just to show you. So we're going to create a new thing. The new thing we create is going to be a loading item. And only when number is greater than 0. Time. Okay, and then back on the page. I'm going to group this in a group.
Or maybe if there was a way to like refresh the search in that element alone, but I don't think that's not possible. No, like to.
You can reset a group. So like you could reset a group that if it has a, this is going to sound funny, a static dynamic data source, then it should refresh that group.
Because
So
we
you
could
do have,
reset the
you have,
whole card group, and then it should refresh all the text elements for the.
right, because you can reset the data of a specific group on the page, right?
But
And so-
that like re-triggers the search, like let's say if you have this repeating group that you created, and then you have 5 elements to show, and then you go to the database and manually add 2 items.
Mhm.
In theory, it should show like automatically, like without any update. You do an update on the database, and then it shows on the front end automatically, no?
Yeah, I mean, it should be, so like if it was in a repeating group like you originally had it, then I would expect it would be automatically updating on the page as the database is changed. I think because you're speeding it up using the text, the format as text instead, which is great for page speed, we're waiting for it to be ready before we show it. That's the
So you
theory.
think
That's the
when we
hypothesis.
finish the process of adding the card items and creating the new card items in the back end, when that finishes, if we reset the whole group, it should like refresh.
It should show it as it is when you show it. Yeah. Mhm. So then it should be accurate, right?
Yeah, I mean, in theory, I mean, we could try. Let's see, for example, sure. While you'd finish that. Well,
Okay. Input.
so share screen.
What's also interesting is by not showing and then showing, it's only when it's shown will it run the query. Is that the logic?
Right, exactly.
Mm.
And we
And so
might need to
delay that.
refresh the data, but at the same time. But the idea is that as it's populating and getting to the point of having the number of things that you're about to show, you can count those things as they're created. And once they're created, then show that element, maybe reset the data on that group and then show the element, and then it should be accurate. In the meantime, your user would just see a loading animation.
So when you
So this
reset
is
a group,
the-
does it
This is a
reset
repeating group.
children? Go ahead.
This is a repeating group that contains the card items, which in at the same time contains these texts that are the card products with the parent, where the parent card item is the current, no? So this repeating group is this one. So I cannot reset this card item where I will have to reset the parent of this repeating group, no? Because I cannot reset a repeating group at the end of the workflow. Because this is a workflow, create card item, card product. So when everything all of this is finished, I need to reset a group, no?
Right. And can you grab that group if it's in a repeating group?
So I cannot this repeating group is this one, which is not resettable, but I could reset, if I reset the parent, should reset everything inside it, no? So this is a parent, and this.
Yeah, but does your parent have a data source to begin with?
No, it's just containing the repeating.
Yeah, because I think resetting the data source is what's going to reset the data in the group. So if your group doesn't have a data source, I'm not sure, but you could test it and you could find out. So
Then I could change it, like instead of the data source being directly on the repeating group, I could put it on the parent. Things like this. Right.
It won't accept it in the group because it's a list of things as opposed to a single item.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it will.
But you could do a you could do a hidden repeating group or a custom state. That's the list, but probably the hidden repeating group, because then you could do the data source exactly as you wanted it there and refresh that.
And then reset the state. Do you think that would work? Like this source, instead of being here on the repeating group, put it on a state.
Yeah, so the truth of the matter is no matter what I say here, we're going to have to test it and make sure that it works. So I think that the best course of action is to follow through either on one of your ideas or one of my ideas and see if it works. So.
Okay, so I'll try. Let's see. You said either a state or a hidden repeating group, no?
I would do a hidden repeating group.
I've got a third idea as well.
Sure.
Which just reminded me, we could delay the pop-up, give it more time, and then re-request the list.
Right. Well, but I mean, that's sort of what I was suggesting.
Yeah.
You still have to be able to detect when it's done. And the only way to do that is to use counts, right? Is to count the things that you're sending to the backend to be created. And then once those things are created, you'll know how many there should be. And that's what you could dynamically populate into a state to know that it's done.
Yeah. That's clear.
Mm-hmm. While you're working on that, I'm going to go ahead.
Just one question. If I use this hidden repeating group, how can I reset this its content? It's the same thing as I had before, no?
Yeah, it's all about counting. So if you'd let me finish my thought and go through, I could show you what I mean.
Okay.
So how do you know how many things are going to be created in the back end? You have everything.
I have a list of texts, which are the items that need to be created. A list of texts, which are the SKUs, the unique reference.
Okay, so the number of items that are in that list of text, the number of texts that are in that list of texts is the number of items that would be created in the back end?
Yes.
Okay. If you want to show your screen, I'll talk you through it.
Yeah.
So what you'll need to do is you'll need to set when you send the things to the backend to be created, you have to indicate to the page that you're waiting for something. So you'll set a state of loading or waiting or something like that. Then you'll do a do when action on the actual page.
Okay, so these are the two backend workflows that are run.
Mm-hmm. So click to add an action at that point at the end of there.
Oh.
Yep, and you'll set a state. So element actions. Yep. And then probably put it on the page. So selector 100 is fine. And then custom state, you'll create a new one. And just loading. And you can make the state type yes or no. And then create that and set it to yes here. And then click to add an event at the very end, at the very bottom. Nope, not an action. Yep, an event, exactly. and then it'll be do when condition is true. Now, so only when the loading, so the selector 100s group, yeah. When the loading is yes. And now this is where you have to figure out what, it's probably that same search that you have going on in the repeating group or in the text element. So when that search's count is equal to the count of those texts that you're sending into the back end, then you're going to flip that loading to no.
Okay, this one's kind of tricky because I'm using texts here. So it will be this search.
Yep.
I don't even need, it will be just this count. So, nobody, I cannot paste.
I think it'll, yeah, I think it'll overwrite everything there. So.
Chose card products. Word. No, but this is a card. It's a different. The condition is search for card products where the card item is parent group's card item, because this repeating group is displaying card items. So I would need to. I would need. It's kind of tricky. I understand what you are trying to do.
Okay.
But I don't think I can do it just now. I need to, because
you need to rework some things.
Yeah. Because I can try it.
That's the way that you'll indicate to the page that there's that it's not loading anymore. And then when that condition is true, then you can run the workflow to either display or also reset things on the page.
Okay, I'll try to. So okay, when this condition is true, when the loading is no, so that's complete. Then I have to. What will you do? Like to display the. How can you re-trigger this search to happen? Like to show this element, or what would you do? Once the loading is no, what happens?
Yeah, so you could put the conditional on that one to when loading is no, then you could set the text which has the search on it.
Okay, so, although it's set on, although this is a repeating group, and I would have to do, it will be the condition for all of them, which shouldn't be a problem because it's this is performing independent searches for each cell.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it will refresh all the items, which won't hurt, but it's a repeating group, so that's
okay.
fine.
Well, I have to take other questions, but I'm sure we can work this out. We can ask Eli for some more help since he has you doing things a bit differently, just to be able to load things faster on the page. So, but
that's been good. I think thank you for that. It's
yeah, I think at least
I get it. I understand the logic anyway. The point is about creating that condition. Right. That's sorry. I feel bad.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just, yeah, I just have to be able to take other questions this office hours. And then for things that take a bit longer, we can work that out in the private channel in Slack.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
no problem.
much.
You're welcome. Awesome. Let's see here. Thomas, did you have any questions today?
Nope.
Nope. How about you, Ben?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Boye, how about you?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something. The last time you talked about best practices for using the responsive function in Bubble, right? So I had to think about how I'll actually lay out my pages. So you did mention using reusable elements, and I was trying to figure out how that could happen, and I'll give you a use case. So pretty much my app actually has three core areas: suppliers, customers, and items, right? For customers, I'm going to do an invoice. I'm going to have a list of customers. Then I'll have a page to display the page of the customer, right? Detail for suppliers, I'll have purchase orders, right? I'll be able to create purchases. I'll have a page that lists out all my suppliers. Then I actually have another page to display the supplier page. For items, it would be displaying the list of all the items, a page to display the item itself, right? So pretty much now, if pretty much those would be the critical pages for my app, then I was wondering how I'll be able to use reusable elements, then the fact that how I'll be able to manage that each of those pages will actually have different elements that will have to do different things at a point in time. So I just couldn't figure that out. So I just wanted to ask, maybe you could just share advice on how I can actually just handle that.
Sure. So the idea is if you're thinking through, so first of all, the reason to use reusables is to reduce the number of page loads that a user is experiencing. Number one, because the page load speed is the slowest thing in Bubble, just in general. So the idea is that for each user type, right, you want to minimize the number of page loads that they experience in a single session. So if I'm looking at my dashboard here, and I'm, you have three different users, you said, right? So you've got your customers, you have your, so there's customers and there's who?
Suppliers, then there will be items. Pretty much those are the key areas in the app. So I need to actually keep track of those three.
But your users are, you just have one user type who's using the app?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So if you, which means two, because there's going to be the app admin, which is you.
Two,
and then, so two users. So for each user, if you're going to be seeing completely different things and your interactions are going to be completely different, then I would recommend having a page. And what I mean by page is here, a page for each of those users, right? So a dashboard for each of those users. Then the different screens that they need to see, what you're probably thinking of as pages right now, where they would go to another page to see something different. Instead of doing that, instead of creating new pages for each of those experiences, I'd create a new reusable for each of those experiences. Then on the same dashboard page, I would place those reusables one by one vertically on the page. And the reason is because when you, instead of going to a new page, you would go to a different URL parameter and show a different reusable as they're navigating through their dashboard. And then everything else would be hidden and collapsed, so they would just see what they need to see on the page. And this way they don't have to reload a page. They don't have to go and load a page to get to where they're going. It'll make it much faster using your app because they'll just be clicking around and then things will hide and show very quickly because there's no page load involved.
Okay, I get it, and I think that's what I thought through today. But the problem is I've not been able. Can you just show me a quick example of how you do that? I'm sure if I can just see you just do that, I'll probably be able to figure it out.
Yep. So let me add another. But my app is registered. Canvas, don't be silly. I actually have this working on a different page in here, but not using Canvas. Let's see here. this one? Yeah, so I have 3 tabs here.
Okay.
I have 3 tabs and I have 3 different groups on the page. And for each tab, I'm going to have the group, and then I'll have all kinds of things in the group, buttons and so forth. The group might extend downward so that there's like, I actually have to scroll through. It doesn't, that part, it doesn't matter how long it is. But for each of these tabs is going to be something different. And I was actually trying to do some crazy animation stuff here. That's why it's behaving here. So the animations don't work, but switching the tabs does, because if you watch up here, you can see right now I have tab 3, 2, and then home tab, right? So let me take off the crazy animations part. Let's see here.
So for those tabs, did you use reusable elements? I think again the problem was using.
I didn't use reusable elements, but I can convert them to reusables now. So here I'm in group C. So group C, and let's see if this was, if there's anything else on here. Group A, B, and C. I'll actually want to undo what I just did. I don't know if it'll take it out. So I want in group C, I have group H, I, and J. So group H, I want it to become its own reusable. New group. And then I want I. Okay. So now I have my sidebar demo page, and I have each of these 3 groups. So I can see 1, 2, 3, and each of these are not yet. I'm going to remove these, and I'm going to put the reusables I made in here instead.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3. So now I come down here and I find group blue. So blue group. And then I'm gonna I want to add the green group. Don't want to add it into this group though, so I'm going to come here. I'm going to be careful to think how to get into group C. There was a way to add a reusable to the group like this. For this one, I'm going to add a bottom margin of 10, just so I can see that group group C. Yeah, so hopefully this will work. Here. Then I'll put another 10 and get the red group. There we go. And now I can take the margins off because I actually don't want any margins between. Okay. So this is now a reusable, this is reusable, and this is reusable. So now to show these, I'm just going to put on the reusable element itself, I can do the conditions. So the reusable on the page has conditions, and I can show it this way. Bye, Matt. Let's see here. So I can say, when I get data from URL, and the parameter name can be tab, and then I can say this group's name, right? So this would be, if I remember here, group text one's text. Then I want this element to be visible, right? So I can come here and say, I don't want this element to be visible on page load, and I want it to be collapsed when it's hidden, right? And then I can come here and I can copy this condition, and I can paste that condition onto green group A and change it to be group text 2's text, and just make sure in the layout here that it's not visible and it's collapsed when hidden. And then the same here. When it's group text 3's text, and then not visible on page load and hidden, right? So now, one, two, three.
Okay.
So they're reusables, but I'm able to hide and show them as I need to.
Okay. Okay. That's clear. Okay. But the question I have is, okay, because they're now reusables, right? How, so the essence of reusable, so I can use this multiple times for different functions, right? Pretty much. So I won't have to recreate, let's say I need an input page to create, to get data for customers. I also need the same input page to get data for suppliers. So I could just create a reusable that I can now use on a supplier page, on a customer page, right?
I'm not sure I understand. So, I mean, I think you're asking about the reusable nature of reusables.
Yes, that's what I was asking.
You can have multiple instances of a reusable on the page, and you can send different data into each instance. So notice that when it says red group A, that's because if I come here and I put a margin here, I can add another instance of red group here. So I can say here, and I can add another one.
Mm-hmm.
And then take this off as well. So now there's another red group here, but it's red group B.
Okay.
And notice so let's see, because this is the first time I've done this with the new responsive editor.
Okay.
The layout here. So I don't have any kind of data to send into the red reusable. So I'm going to go back into the red group here. I'm going to set a type of content to be user. Now, if I go back on the side page, sidebar demo, let's see if it's requiring. Yeah, so now in the appearance, it says data source, like who do you want to send in there, right? And so for the first red group, so for red group, that's weird.
Yeah, you're showing
Red group. Now they're the same, I guess.
I mean, is it because it's merged together now?
That's weird. Let's see here. So I want to send the current user into one, and I want to send the current user's friend in another. So let's see, current user's friend of type user as the other. So now I have two groups. So the current user one, and I have the current user's friend as the other. So I can put different things into this red group based on who I have, right? So I can say, can have a text element that I put in here. And let's just make this white so you can see it better. So I can put this one as insert dynamic data, and this one can be parent group's user. And we'll say first, last. And then we'll go into the database and take this user
Okay.
and add a friend to it. And I don't know if that user has a first last or not, but we'll go make it have a first last. So this one will have a first last. This is Tonya Aiossa. And we'll save this one. And then we'll go to expired one. We'll get this one. So now if I go to sidebar demo and I run as this person, and I don't have a way, yeah, so I show tab 3, and this one is showing the current user, and then this one, it's not showing the right one, but it is showing something different, so that's good. Because the point is that these are two different instances of the same reusable on the same page.
Okay. Okay.
So, but don't get too caught up on the idea that reusables have to be reused to be reusables. I actually think reusables is a pretty misleading name for these things, because it's not about, it's by Thomas. It's not really about how reusable they are. It's about sectioning out your pages, because the real value in a reusable is that it takes the elements and it takes the workflows and it puts it on the page without having it inherent to the page that it's placed on. So when I load that page, when I load a page of elements, so if I load the sidebar demo, all of these elements that are in this element tree and all of the workflows that are in the workflow section, they all have to load, right?
Yeah.
But if I put everything in reusables, only what is visible, only the reusables that are visible on the page are loading right then. So if you have reusables that are hidden, so originally I had it that this first group, the home group, the blue group would show on page load. So then it would only be loading that reusable and that reusable's workflows and elements on the page. And then it wouldn't load the rest until I was clicking through them. So it buys you page speed and it buys you editor speed. Because if I put a whole bunch of elements on this page, eventually you'll notice that things get much, much slower.
Okay.
And Ben might be able to attest to that.
Double the speed.
Yeah, it takes a long time to load everything. But once you get used to working with reusables, and as long as Bubble's not being weird, like you remember last week when the URL parameters stopped working for some inexplicable reason. As long as those things aren't happening, you'll appreciate how much faster it is to work with reusables than it is to work with each individual element and workflow on the same page.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, gotcha.
Awesome. What else can I tell you? Well, I will say we are starting to air our office hours episodes. We're going to not be airing any of them in any of the channels this week. And then next week, each office hour will play back 1 week after it actually aired. And we'll schedule that. So in the meantime, the reason I'm telling you this is, first, if you missed an office hour and you're looking for the recording, or if you attend an office hour and we cover something and you need the recording, just to let me know and I can send you the Zoom link. Is Pro NoCoders still on sale? Pro NoCoders office hours memberships are still on sale. You can go to pronocoders.com and sign up for an office hours membership for $99 per month up until midnight. And I guess we'll set it midnight Pacific time since we usually operate in Pacific time. So up until midnight Pacific time on New Year's, at which point the price is going up. So go and sign up now. And then members, if you're looking for the recording in the meantime before they're aired, you can always ask me or Kim and we can grab that Zoom link for you so you can see it ahead of time. We're going to wrap up office hours for today and we'll be back for episode number 190 tomorrow. Thanks everybody for watching. All right, we are